Stacy. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you everybody for joining this discussion this morning. Stacy had already planned for us to have a second meeting today, and the format for today, as she has already explained, is for us to have a discussion on some of the issues that small programs are faced with as we transition to the fall. So I just wanted to make a few observations about our own program, and then and just turn it over. Whosoever feels free can just jump in. The very first thing that first challenge for us as a program, and for those of you who probably don't know, we are here in Laredo, Texas. We are a small program. We currently have about 70 students enrolled. Last spring, I would say I believe last year we lost one of our faculty resigned. Her contract with our program ended. So we actually needed to move very quickly and fill that position. And this was, as you all know, this was in the middle of the pandemic. So, and the university had already suspended or frozen all hiring. So we were very nervous because as a NASPA accredited program, we needed to maintain the 5 faculty, nucleus faculty rule and make sure that we are in compliance. So we actually moved very fast. We got the support of our dean and our chair, and the provost was also supportive. So we managed to move fast. We put the hiring in place, hiring process kicked in, and we had, believe it or not, we had about 77 applications, 77 applications for only one position. So we were overwhelmed. On one hand, we were excited. On the other hand, we were really overwhelmed about how to sort through the applications and to make sure we were hiring someone who had a good fit with our program as a small program. And so we went through very quickly as we could. And we were very lucky. We got an individual who had the experience, teaching experience, had the research experience also in the area that we're looking for. We wanted someone who specialized in diversity and specialized in issues of human resources management as well. So we were lucky to get this person, and they accepted. We made the offer. So by the end of the fall, we had actually made the offer. The fall of 2020, we made the offer and they accepted to join us. So we are preparing to receive them. I've been in communication with them, and they are getting ready to join us here in Laredo, Texas. So that problem was more or less resolved in our favor. But the other issue that we faced, which we are still dealing with, is we came up for reaccreditation. And we've been navigating the reaccreditation process. We had the site visitors with us in the spring, in March, and then we had 2 fantastic individuals, and the site visit review was online. So we managed to Zoom in with them. We had a Zoom discussion. They had a discussion with our students. Somehow they were impressed with us, to the input from our students. We had about 15 students logged in to talk with the site visitors. And then we had the faculty meet with the site visitors, and we gave them all the information they needed, and we answered all the questions that they had concerning our self-study report. They submitted their report to NASPA. And we are just keeping our fingers crossed now for NASPA to give us a final decision about where we stand. So that is the other big issue that we faced from 2020 to 2021. The last thing I'll mention, and then I'll turn it over to anybody, is it's about, we designed a diversity plan, and going into the fall, we actually want to put this diversity plan into action. We call it a diversity work plan, and we intend to engage our students. We already surveyed our students and surveyed the faculty, and we got an input about how people understood and how they actually operationalized diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we wanted to develop the tools for testing how our program is diversity sensitive, and we developed some measures that we want to put into action this coming fall. So this is all that we have. There are other issues concerning teaching that I would like to discuss, but if we have the chance. So I want to stop here and then allow any one of you, someone who wants to share any issues that they are facing and how they are resolving them. Thank you so much. Is anybody interested in sharing?
Oh, I can always jump in. Yeah, I mean, we also had our site visit this year, and I think it was with some of the cutbacks we had, I think it, it was a challenge to be upfront about those, but not to the point that we wanted to overly flag things with our accreditation either. I mean, it is kind of a fine line. So our program, really had some issues with turnover on marketing, and I guess this is the hazard of being public administration. You kind of know how things should work. And so our staff got very into digital marketing at the expense of more direct outreach. And even things like the marketing flyer became sort of subject to who we had doing that part of the outreach. We also really priced ourselves out of the market for a period of time, and it took a number of years to get to kind of backfill that with a government employee discount rather than partnership agreements, and to say, no, we should not be charging the same tuition as our MBA program, which actually was probably pricing itself out of the market as well, because we're in a college of business. So the silver lining is that as the pandemic hit, our enrollments went up. And we are currently trying to figure out what exactly we're doing for fall. Supposedly we have new equipment coming in that is, so we can have some people virtual. But as with last month's panel, there's a push to try to get people to, particularly students, well, there's a faculty process as well of documenting vaccination status or requesting exemptions. And so it's been, and we've had a number of new administrators during the pandemic. So Peter, think about having a new provost come in who's in the process of moving from upstate to New York to Southern California. And this last week, a new dean of the College of Business and Public Management started. And we're considering whether to go to a brand new college of health and community well-being. And so at least one of our core faculty members, and maybe three of us, may be having joint appointments in the new college as this sorts out on where we're going. So, so getting a basic answer about this wonderful group of new students as our enrollment has gone up, who live up to a 2-hour commute away, and what kind of remote arrangements can we make? That's been just sort of my immediate life. And we're switching academic calendars starting the month early. And it's a completely different calendar system. But the resource part now is still getting, some traction on more focused marketing, particularly nonprofit. That was shared with that concentration was shared with another degree program that has shifted almost entirely online. And as a result, they have fewer nonprofits coming in. And then we're still facing with the fact that our longtime high touch program advisor left in August 19. And after a year, it's only been partially filled. So that was what the site visit team was quite concerned about is, exactly what staff do you have when there isn't a budget for it because of budget freezing. So, I think simply having enrollments gone up has created some attention. And now we have multiple colleges fighting over wanting our program to be in it. That's not yet translated into resources, but I'm thinking however that plays out, hopefully that means some additional advising program coordination support. And after co-chairing the budget committee, partially as a effort to get attention, I decided I don't know if it's passive aggressive or not, but just basically turning down a lot of service opportunities and saying, yeah, we just don't have the resources to do this. And, I just have to say no. So whether that translates into action or not, I don't know. But I think for work-life balance, at least it helps as I'm doing double duty. So at this point, I've been reading more psychology and work management texts on how to cope with this. Others may have suggestions, but it's kind of a perfect storm of workload.
Mm-hmm. And if I could interject here for a second, we just recently had the admissions directors meeting last week, and we heard there that a number of schools are also seeing higher enrollments. So I'd like to do a quick poll just to see what folks are experiencing and if this is widespread or just a smaller number of schools that.
Yeah, and I'm saying not sure because our enrollments will be up based on last year's admissions, but because of the new academic calendar, we're starting fall a month early. So I am not sure that that's going to translate into a net increase right away. Yeah, we used to start fall late September, and now it's the week of August 23rd.
So it looks like most people aren't sure yet.
Yeah. For us, for sure, we at this point, we are sure that we're probably going to be about the same enrollment as last academic year. It doesn't look like we are seeing any a lot of applications at this point. In fact, one of the reasons I came in late because so an applicant just called me and I said, yes, we're going to do an admissions interview over the phone. Apparently they didn't hear me well and they actually drove here to campus. So while I'm waiting on the phone to take a phone call, they actually knocked at my door and they came in. And then it's like, okay, I have a Zoom meeting in about 20 minutes. Then we went on and on and on and on and on. But it doesn't look like we are going to have more applications and admissions this academic year at all. Let's see here. Hi, Martha, how are you?
Good, Peter, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. You, John, and Marsha will be hearing from me soon, okay?
Oh,
so
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Laurel.
Yeah, so Martha, our new provost is very keen on accreditation. So I've been getting regular emails of when are those letters coming out. I actually like the break between the site visit and the letters coming out and all that.
I love that. John's response on the chat, he's like, oh yeah, we were done in March. He's like, whenever the letter comes, whenever. So I appreciate you all, but it's coming soon, I promise.
Yeah.
This is John Kiefer here. I had a couple of ideas when I saw Peter's here at this webinar from UNO's perspective. And of course, did I mention, we're in Louisiana, which I think among all 50 states, we've had the highest cuts to public education of any state. So we've been challenged for a long time. But of course, I came to this from a long career in the Marine Corps, where we'd always used to say we're doing everything with nothing. And of course, that's what they're expecting us to do here. But some of the ideas that in my 12 years now as a MPA director that I found it's really helpful. I thought it was really nice. We had our professional accreditation, like some of you, in March. And in the accreditations that I've gone through, I've found them to be absolutely extremely fair, to be right on the mark, and they can be leveraged to help you with some of these financial staff and faculty challenges. And I thought we were pretty good at doing that. I really got a kick out of our site visit lead telling our president and provost, hey, I love the attitude of the program director. No money, no resources, no problem. Develop a plan B. And that's basically the way we have proceeded. Some of these methods that we've used over the years to help with the financial challenges are tapping into professors' indirect cost accounts. I've done that for as long as I've been at UNO. We get our 2% back return on grant. I've used that to take them to national conferences at ASPA, to go to the regional conferences, to fund students. Also, that's their little pot that the students know that the Public Administration Student and Alumni Association can come to me to get money that way. So we've had no travel money for years. And so it's up to us to generate it. So the grant accounts, whenever I do a grant through our Applied Hazard Center, the first thing I build in is about 20 grand for at least one student. So that funds the student scholarship. And sometimes we've had two. And the university has a few small scholarships. The other tap for financial assistance for student organizations and trips are the foundation accounts. All of the universities have a foundation, and most of the departments have a foundation account. And that's where we encourage student alumni, to do that direct deposit every month, and you forget about it, but that feeds into your foundation account. We try to shove anything related to accreditation to academic affairs. It doesn't come out of departments' budgets. So we go right to the provost when we want to fund our NASPA trips and things like that. So we don't pay for that. For us, being in New Orleans, kind of a resort city, over the years, we've hosted the ASPA National Conference. We've hosted the SOCOPA, the regional conference. And a lot of times you can split some of that money with the parent organization and with the hosting university. So we've been able to tap into some of those resources, again, to provide student travel and things like that. And we've used it to fund the student organizations. We've used it for student conference and faculty conference registrations. And then this past year, we got all of our students student ASPA memberships, so they could pay that $40, $45 ASPA membership and get PAR online and all that kind of stuff. And that was very helpful. As far as staff, we have a departmental executive assistant, but he does nothing for the program. So the staff is it. We have no one. So one thing that we've tried is to get funded assistantships, a graduate student, but that hasn't been fruitful. But it might work at your own institutions. What we've done is sometimes we use students to accept, to work on their capstone projects and to work on looking at evaluation and assessment data for NASPA. And so that's helpful, and it's a good experience. We obviously remove a lot of the identifiers so that they can't identify students, but we use our capstone students to help with some of this data analysis. As far as faculty go, of course, we're in New Orleans, so our student body is diverse. But we didn't have any hiring since our last accreditation. And, we didn't have much diversity at all. But one of the recipes I always recommend is, go to Jayberry, talk to the NASPA professionals, and there are other ways that you can demonstrate to the committee that they've been exposed to diverse ideas, bringing in guest speakers. The key is document, document, document. Bringing guest speakers, exposing to a wide. So, we've done that with a couple of, the accreditation of site visits. Use NASPA conferences to really make your argument for your hiring needs. I don't know how it is in other states. I can just say in Louisiana. In Louisiana, our Board of Regents says, If you have a program at your university, an academic program, and it has a professional accrediting body, you must be professionally accredited. Woo, that's kind of cool, because now you can threaten the administration with, if we don't stay professional, we need to have these hires. We need to have these hires for budgeting and things like that. Now, that doesn't always work out. They don't really stand quaking in their boots, but it does help to bolster your argument. If you can't hire full-time, obviously you can fill it with competent and reliable subject matter experts. And we've had a few long-term subject matter adjuncts, I should have said, that have taught for us for 10, 12 years. But again, go to the administration and say, if we don't fill these particular skill sets and people can teach these NASPA competencies, we are in danger of losing accreditation. And so that usually puts you a couple of notches higher than perhaps some of the other programs that want to hire people. And also what they then turn around and try to do is say, well, can't you just teach more? And of course, I put my foot down and say, no, I can't teach budgeting. I'm not a budgeting. I'm an evaluator and that kind of stuff. But they'll try to do that. So then your next threat is SACS. Say, no, we're not going to teach that, because SACS looks at your ability to teach those courses. And oh, okay. So you have to have these kind of arguments ready to go to the administration, because they'll try to, pull a fast one on you. And then, finally, NASPA is particularly helpful in the site visits in helping you to highlight shortfalls. Sure, we know what our shortfalls are. I'm not shy about sharing them with the site visit team. And if you have a good leader, and I know we were always, Jade and some of the others that would teach at the Accreditation Institute, NASPA is there to help. And in the site visits we've had, they've always been there to help. And they're able to take some of your shortfalls and needs and again, articulate that up the chain of command and give you that visibility you need. So those are my hints from 12 years as a program director. And, I think we're doing fine. The program is still slowly growing. A lot of programs, like us here in New Orleans, we've got some competition, but it's not really competition. We've got other MPA programs. We got LSU up the road, and they're good and they're well funded. And now Jared is their dean up there. So they're doing real well. But Tulane started an MPA program, but I don't think they have any pretensions of ever being NASPA accredited, because all the people they're hiring are practitioners and they're not really, PA. I don't know what their future is. And then there's a couple of these kind of online little storefronts that aren't NASPA accredited programs. So I think we've got a good solid reputation, and programs slowly growing. And Lord knows we need good professional public administrators down here in South Louisiana.
Well, thank you so much, John. Those were great insights. Martha, I could see your hand up, right?
It was a little clap hand for John. Sorry.
Hi, Laurel. Did you have any insights, any pieces of advice for us? We'll be happy to hear from you.
Actually, just the opposite. I think, I've had the chance in the last week to be involved in several different meetings, to have our deans and other folks talking about the return in the fall. And I think I was most interested in is whether some of our compact programs, our smaller programs, what's most on their mind. I mean, there's so many things going on. One of the, I heard a very interesting presentation from deans at large schools yesterday, from Ohio State, from Indiana University, and they were talking about the university's rules coming back in the fall, that there's still a lot of testing, a lot of protocols, that classes with more than certain number of students have to be masked. And I was just wondering, about the challenge that if the universities that you all are in are working with you to help you figure out how to navigate this world. And they were also reporting, and so I'd be interested in whether some of the smaller schools are doing this too. They're still expecting a significant fraction of courses to be either hybrid or virtual still. And
Mhm.
I'm imagining the challenge of smaller programs trying to do all three at once, have some classes in person, some students who for one reason or another, they're overseas and can't get to the United States. They have some kind of health, compromised health or something. So you're trying to Zoom them in or whatever. And so, I think I'm really just interested in the experience that you all, what's most on your mind as you're heading back, and whether
Mhm.
there's anything NASPA can do to provide support or, fellowship amongst you in dealing with a world that we're coming back, but there are still significant challenges to educators.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good question for all of us. Are there any reflections? Do we have any answers and responses? This is a great, great question for us, Laurel. Thank you.
At the risk of, I don't want to take too much time, but one of the unintended consequences of this online is we've seen our graduation rates actually go up a little bit. And it's something I shared with the provost, and he said, I hadn't thought about that, but I'm going to talk to the deans. And all of our courses are offered Monday through Thursday evenings, 6 to 9, and they're offered once a year. Because we're a small program, we've got the 5, and again, some of you are in that. But and they were always offered in class. Well, we started obviously with this COVID, putting more and more courses, putting all of our courses online. But as we went to the fall, I tried to develop an optimization schedule for our courses. And by that, I meant now students, especially if you had a few courses asynchronous, students could actually they had every course almost available to them every semester. So they didn't have to wait for a year to take a course. They could plan their schedules much better, particularly because those asynchronous courses gave you that flexibility. And really, on average, we cut a semester off and we had some of our faculty that were actually willing to offer a course online via Zoom on Saturday. We polled the students and they liked that. Well, I shared that with the provost and I said, just don't force everybody back onto campus, because we all know that the universities want that because they make all of their money from the dorms and the food and all of those sales. But now we can boost graduation rates by giving students more flexibility to take the courses they need. And again, particularly important for a small program where you don't have courses every semester by every faculty. So that was an unintended benefit that I noticed.
Now, I saw Charles come on the camera. So what's going on in Muncie, over there in Muncie with respect to coming back in the fall?
Okay, yeah, thanks. I was eating my lunch, so I figured everybody didn't want to see me chewing on a peanut butter sandwich. But yeah, so we're the plan is we're going to be back in the classroom, unmasked if everybody unmasked for whoever's vaccinated. But this is Indiana, so vaccination compliance is a pinky swear sort of thing. And with classrooms at full capacity, we've also been told, like we've been told the last, I guess 3 semesters, that we've got to be ready to pivot to hybrid or online or whatever at the drop of a hat. So I don't know. I think the Delta variant and Indiana's kind of mediocre vaccination rate may have something to say about some of that. I don't know. That my observation the last couple of semesters that students were really compliant on masking and that sort of thing. So I'm assuming, that what I hear as far as at least what they've reported, that, they're probably more vaccinated than the average Delaware County here nearby. So I don't know. We'll see. We're kind of fingers crossed that things will be sort of normal, but I don't know. I did want to mention one thing. So I was, listening to Peter's discussion of, and others, filling faculty vacancies, and we had a faculty vacancy come open. Of course, at a time that the university is very tight on filling open lines, and much to my surprise, we've been given the go-ahead to fill that one, which was good news. On the other hand, the university has also decided that it has too many tenured and tenure track faculty and hasn't been utilizing contract faculty enough. So we're only going to get to fill this position as a contract faculty member. I've submitted my information on what needs to go in the job description to make sure that that part of their contract is doing things beyond just teaching, that are required to be a Nucleus faculty member, for accreditation purposes. I've yet to see how the job description is actually going to be written up, but I was, kind of curious what other universities have seen as far as a shift from, tenured and tenure line faculty to more contingent faculty. Here at Ball State, that used to be kind of at least in our college, was kind of a pride point that that students mostly were taught by tenured and tenure line faculty, but and compared to like the communications college and maybe some others, there's the view that our college has too many tenured and tenure track faculty, so they're trying to correct that problem.
Cool.
They call it a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, our program is kind of leveraged in terms of the core. So we last hired tenure track faculty at the peak of our enrollment. And so we have not had a new full-time hire since 2011. But we do have, yes, we're all still almost a state of shock that our senior member, Jack Meek, is actually going to retire. So, but our full-time faculty ratios are so high.
I didn't think that was possible, Marcia. I
Yeah,
didn't think
well,
that
and
would be allowed to retire.
yes, and we do have a faculty member in our college who's at least in his mid-80s who's still teaching. So, but I guess that was not appealing to Jack. For those that don't know, Jack's kind of is a legend in public administration and a relatively recent NASPA president. So he has like a sabbatical. He supposedly did his last book project, but then signed up for 3 other things. So and he's still going to be on dissertation committees, but regular classroom teaching will be less. So this actually comes into play with our reorganization because we have a doctoral program and an online bachelor's. We can kind of spread teaching load around. But within our department, we have an MHA program that has much lower full-time loads. So we're looking at, are there some ways to leverage that? And perhaps that department has some flexibility to do a visiting or a clinical position who could become part of our core, because we have concentrations in nonprofit, public health, and urban. It's a really good mix. So we currently have an adjunct who teaches sustainable communities. You would think that people would be sort of scooping up anyone with health administration or public health right now. But I think there's the usual academic thing of being hard to hire for tenure track. And when you are a practitioner, you don't quite fit into that box of research one institutions or those that want to strive for that. So, I think, we're really, for me, I see the potential more in hiring nonprofit, health, these kind of more holistic approaches. I was very glad to hear from Peter about the quality of his applicant pool and the range of interest there. So I think I know I was a site visitor where there was sort of a borrowed core member that was frowned on a little bit, but I think that's I think joint appointments and things may be ways to take a look at that. you know, as much as we would love to have everybody tenure track, you know, I think it's going to be difficult until this kind of settles out. But I think, you know, that strategy, I feel pretty comfortable we're on the right track of how to do things. And one advantage of the site visit, I mean, yes, administrative capacity was flagged, but because we had an accreditation issue with a different program, the site visit team met with our outgoing provost, our incoming provost, 2 college deans, and our university president. So, you know, hopefully that will translate into some resources and, yeah, some strategic hiring, at least on the academic side of the house.
I want to jump in and ask a question. I was bugging Lee on in the chat about her program having health administration within it, Marcia. And I'm wondering, like, this is another curiosity on my part, that we are now going to be getting students who have lived a very weird life for the last year and a half. And, you know, Stacy and Martha and I talk about this in the office and so forth, whether, you know, this is a watershed in public service education, that the students who are going to start coming to us have had a different life experience now. And whether some of their interests will be different, their attitudes will be different, why they're wanting to enter public service might be different. And certainly on the health side, you know, we've seen many students, activists being involved in, you know, everything from vaccination drives to protests about inequality in healthcare and so forth. So I'm wondering, those of you who are in health administration, apart from hiring faculty in that area or what you're doing in faculty, whether the students, you know, speculating about whether the students come, you know, who we now will have will be different than our previous students because they've been through something that, you know, no previous cohort has been through for 100 years, which is, you know, lockdowns and fear of becoming ill and so forth. So Lee, I'd be interested, Marcia, and anybody else who is starting, you know, who's been talking to students in the last year about coming to your program and just what you're seeing in this fall class, if they're qualitatively different.
I haven't seen it, and I'm at University of Louisiana Monroe, and we are 100% online, so we are not facing kind of that classroom issue. I have seen here in our region in Northeast Louisiana, healthcare is a very viable career track. We have a fair number of hospitals for a rural community. We have the clinics. Our folks are probably more interested in that career path as a viable career path. I don't see them quite as interested, or I don't want to say interested, but they're not necessarily focused on some of the equity issues, even though they see them. They are probably more focused on job opportunities in healthcare in our region. We just opened on campus last year a partnership with VCOM for a DO school. So they're seeing opportunities with this background to be able to work administratively in that college. And most of them are looking at either going into healthcare administration, not worried about what sector it is so much, but just healthcare administration or assisted living facilities.
That's really interesting. We started healthcare administration long ago, about 10 years ago, and we couldn't get the faculty, a qualified faculty full-time to teach on that track. So we gave it up. But there's a need in the community. And this fall, our nursing, the College of Nursing and Health Sciences here will be starting a similar program about healthcare administration. And we are looking to partner with them to see whether we can to consider it as an opportunity for our program to be a part of that healthcare administration initiative, and to see how we can bring some blended competencies with technical nursing aspects and administrative aspects. So we are looking to that, but most of you may know that we are actually facing, so to speak, double pandemic. We have a pandemic of immigration. We have bus loads of immigrants who are being bused from McAllen and Brownsville down the valley, and they are being bused, to Laredo, Texas. Just this week, our county judge had to issue an emergency proclamation saying that they were not ready to receive any more immigrants from anywhere. And the perception is that immigrants have not been vaccinated. They are coming from across the border, many of them from Central America and from Mexico, and most of them have not been vaccinated. And that is a serious concern for us, although the vaccination rate in our community, in the city here in Laredo, and in the county in general, our vaccination rate is higher than the Texas average, and actually higher than the national average as well. So that is the good news for us. And there's vaccination and testing going on. Throughout the summer, we have vaccination and testing going on our campus. So on one hand, it seems to be under control, but on the other hand, because of the rise, the city health department is seeing a rise in the pandemic cases, infection cases. Not a whole lot of increase, but still enough to create anxiety on the part of students and faculty and staff. And although the plan is for the university to come back face to face, but we are 100% online, so we don't really face that kind of a threat since we've been doing online for the past 7 years. But still, because we're in the larger university environment, whatever happens, in the community and in the university tends to affect, the way our program is handling, delivering classes and so on and so forth. And the majority of our students are from within the county and neighboring counties, but we do have other students from other states, from Florida, from California, and recently we got somebody from Massachusetts, and then we just got an application from the Dominican Republic. So we have students spread all over, and we want to create an atmosphere of certainty, so to speak, and try to calm down fears by telling prospective students that the vaccination rate here is very high. The last I read from the Laredo Morning Times, it was like 58% vaccination rate. And that is the case region-wide, from here all the way down to Brownsville to Hidalgo County and to Cameron County and the smaller counties in between, Mission and Starr County and so on. So we more or less, the anxiety is not there, and but we are still very careful and cautious about how to deliver the message to encourage students, to continue to be in touch and engage with the students, to assure them that our program is there to support them to do well wheresoever they are. The other thing I wanted to mention very quickly, and this is
No, Peter, before you move on, I just posted a question in the chat wondering, we were just talking with IU folks yesterday, and they were saying that not only are they requiring all students and faculty to be vaccinated this fall, but they just held up to a judicial review where someone challenged that, some students challenged it, and the judge upheld their decision. And I'm wondering, I'm seeing in the chat from Daniel that Kent State has not and doesn't. And that's consistent, Daniel, with what Ohio State was saying in the same meeting, that they are not requiring vaccinations at Ohio State so far.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing, though, about Indiana. So to be clear, the judge upheld that they can require vaccination. However, the legislature passed a bill this last session about vaccine passports. And so universities, we can require vaccination. We can't require proof. And so that's why I was referring to the pinky swear earlier. And so Ball State, it's like they're encouraging. And if students say they have been vaccinated, then there are some things that happen if they get caught up in contact tracing and that sort of thing. But that's technically, if you can get vaccinated or not. If you're not vaccinated, you're supposed to wear a mask when you're on campus, but there's no proof that can be required to demonstrate that you're actually vaccinated. So I'm not sure how any of this works.
Yeah, and ours is requiring you to either upload your vaccination or a request for an exemption. But the exemption criteria is religious, medical, or quote, personal. And so we don't know what personal means. And then there's the deadline is just coming up for that. We're physically located in LA County, which has reimposed an indoor mask mandates. And based on infection rates, even though we have among the highest vaccination rates, and I think LA County is higher than the remaining counties, surrounding counties of Southern California. It doesn't seem like that mandate's going to go away anytime soon. So I've already kind of said, okay, I need a portable mic if I'm doing class through a mask. Back to your original question on students. So there's a lot of emotion, and even students, things that are a little more abstract, like critiquing lotteries for those who are vaccinated. Students kind of had fun discussing that, but other more serious topics, we've always had a more equity-oriented program, and I think our capstones have increasingly been cross-sectoral and dealing with issues about food deserts, access to service as well. Some of the very more specific mental health and emotional aspects of the pandemic are harder. At the same time, because of all of the federal aid, and the number of retirements, hiring and promotions have been really strong for our students. Some of that is reputation and our mentoring support, but it's been a good market. So, 2 years from now, that may not be the job market for our students. We don't necessarily have that many students signing up for the public health concentration, but taking a class on current trends in health or foundations of public health or epidemiology has kicked up. It's seen as something that students need to know about. And we were, healthcare was already a growing sector and aging population. So the pandemic, as with many things, just really accelerated that trend. We probably only have I think we have a couple MPA students who were working as contract tracers, and it's unclear what their long-term career path will be post-pandemic. Obviously, the surge we had in the fall just sort of overwhelmed the ability to do meaningful contact tracing at all. So we'll see where those positions shift.
Anybody else? John, on the issue of vaccination, do you have any experiences to share and what your university is doing, how the program is responding?
We just have to wait for the University of Louisiana system to kind of take that on. I don't think that's going to be our call, but right now in the fall, we're not requiring any kind of masks. And of course, we're in New Orleans, and usually the president takes his cue from what the mayor does. And as of today, we just went back to encouraging masking, and the university just said everybody on campus has got to wear a mask. But down here, of course, the tension is not only with getting students back on campus, but when we take our cues from the city of New Orleans, they want to get people back. And they, even though it's a hot spot for COVID, so no requirement at this point, which, again, makes it hard. When I talk to our dean of students, this is not our MPA students, but just in general, she said, I am so frustrated by, we have a mask requirement on campus and people are either not wearing a mask, wearing the mask below their nose or around their neck. And then they get the attitude when they're, it's pointed out, would you please put your mask on properly? So there's always that tension, but at least in Louisiana, not a big deal. Lee, probably the same. You're taking your cues from the UL system as well.
Yeah. Hi, Lee. Hi, Lee. Any response from you?
Yeah, I mean, John and I are in the same system, the UL system. So at the beginning of the week, we got an email from the president. We're keeping an eye, and we hope to have some updates by August 1st. So nothing at this time. We do have a soft request that if we are in a meeting with enough people we can't social distance, then we are asked to wear masks as staff and faculty. Some are not that many students are around. So, and I at the beginning of the summer, I think the freshman orientation were wearing masks, but I haven't been seeing them wearing as many masks either as they've been on this week. So it'll be, I don't see it being a hard requirement at all. I don't think that'll go over very well here. And we are one of the lowest vaccinated states in the country. So
yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think I think the harder part for me hasn't so much been in the classroom, in the course of studies part. It's been the number of students that lost faculty members or family members, and working with them to help them through the grieving process while also keeping them on track for classes, particularly those that were about to graduate. And I didn't want to, hold them back from graduating, but because of the pandemic, but still be able to give them what they needed so they could finish. That's been actually the hardest part for me as we've gone through this.
Very interesting. Hi, Gabby.
Hello, Professor.
Yes, for you all, I invited Gabby Duenas is the president of our Alumni Association, and then very active leaders of our MPA Student Association. And I specifically invited her to join us so that she can, listen to what is happening, in other programs and to share with other students in our program, but also to share with us whatever she's hearing from alumni and from the student body. Gabby, do you have anything to share with us at this point?
Hi, Professor. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Well, our situation is basically we're struggling with the same COVID-related issues when it comes to just meeting in person. We've had comments from our university to encourage us to do in-person events and just kind of bring people back to campus. However, with this new COVID rise that has been, yes, we've had issues with people trusting the environment, one, and then just creating something that's really going to be meaningful, like a big event. We've had to stick with just little mixers here and there. So we're struggling with that as well. I don't think we're gonna see a full recovery or a full comeback for the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah, what Gabby was saying about, the meetings. So alumni meetings are very useful tools for us for recruitment and for keeping the alumni engaged and sharing their experiences. So our alumni has been very, very useful. And that's the reason that Gabby is is helping us a lot in that, trying to bring the alumni together and helping them and motivating them to reach out to other segments of the community so they can spread word about what our program has to offer and how to, prepare them to improve and enhance their skills and so on. But recently, we actually got together, right, Gabby? We got together with in an open event, and it was very successful. And the idea was to get alumni to know what's going on in the program, and then to bring other co-workers with them to help us in our recruitment. Recruitment is going to be huge, given what we are hearing about the COVID and the new variant, the Delta variant. So we have to keep our recruitment activities we have to be very aggressive about recruitment. And this is where our alumni come in, and this is where they actually play a huge role. And our faculty, I also invited our faculty. I think most of them are gone on vacation, so they are not here. But I did want our faculty to actually be here to also share experiences from the faculty point of view. Let's see. Is there anything else that we are missing? Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hi, Steve. Yes. Any experiences from your end?
I'm sorry, I'm just catching up here. So, can you fill me in on the topic? Was I late?
Yes. We are just talking about COVID-19, vaccination, testing, contact tracing, and how all of that affects the way small programs are preparing to transition back to the fall, and how all of these challenges are affecting anxieties and uncertainties about how to prepare and get the programs to respond appropriately going into the fall. And we're all just sharing ideas. It's just a general discussion about what each program is doing to address specific challenges in terms of faculty, staff, finances, and of course the pandemic, and other ways of getting programs well prepared and equipped to start the academic year.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Steve Mumford. I'm an assistant professor at the University of New Orleans. I'm here with John Kiefer, who directs our MPA program at UNO. And we're taking a very cautious approach. We are teaching, both of us at least, not everybody in our program, but the two of us, and I think the majority of our program are teaching virtually in the fall, even though campus is supposedly opening back up. We just got an email today that said masks will be required for the time being on campus because of the Delta variant. And so even if you're vaccinated or not, so they are going back to our mask requirement, which is stricter than the city has not gone back to a mask requirement. So we're being more cautious than local or state government, at least here in New Orleans. But I think John and I are being even more cautious still, just because it's such a fluid situation, and we want to kind of stick with something that we can stay with, as opposed to keep going back and forth, and give the students some sense of certainty and consistency, at least for the fall. We're hoping, as always, we're hoping that The spring is even better in terms of getting back to face. But that's been our approach. And in fact, we found, at least I've found, and we've talked about this, John and I and others in our program, there are some real advantages to teaching in Zoom. There's trade-offs, of course, but I'd say the vast majority of our students work full-time, and some of them work, in the region, but not necessarily conveniently located to campus. So it's been nice to be able to give them that flexibility of join classes via Zoom that they can do from their home or from their office. They can be eating, they can be kind of managing childcare at the same time. So that's been actually a positive. Obviously we've all had to kind of get up to speed on this technology, but with that said, Zoom's working out okay, and we're just going to keep with that. And I know people are getting sick of it, but and then try to phase in some more face-to-face events and things like that on campus. Like we're going to have an in-person orientation this year, and just try to kind of gradually get people coming back, which might help also with just the reacclimation, because we're all kind of went through this culture shock. So that's where we're at. But it's easy for us because we're such a small program. I guess we all are here, but we can kind of be more nimble and make these decisions just chatting with each other, as opposed to having to go through some big formal process. John, do you have anything to add?
I already added my stuff earlier, Steve. I know you were on the CST, you looked at the time there and it was EST when NASMA put this out, but you looked at it, interpreted it as, so you were a little bit of about an hour behind, but I already did all my yapping. And as Steve pointed out, he's a great asset to our faculty, and the heir apparent is MPA director if we don't burn him out before that.
Oh, that explains. I'm so sorry. I was off by the time zone. my apologies.
So it's to our interest to get Steve promoted and tenured so that I can retire someday.
Thank you, Steve. Stacy, do we still have any time left?
Yeah, I think we're about out of time, but I did just want to thank you all for joining us today and for this discussion. And I hope that the PDF file that I just dropped in the chat now works for those who weren't able to access the graphic earlier. But our next webinar will be August 19th, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, on how we can incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion into the MPA and MPP curricular. So we're really looking forward to that and hope that you can join us for that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to the next webinar in August. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Steve.
Bye.
Thank you for having me, Professor. It was nice to meet everyone. Take care.
Yes,
Hi,
Gabby,
Gabby.
thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you, Peter.
Thank you, Stacy. I hope you can come by Loreto sometime and visit. Maybe after the pandemic.
Maybe.
Are you muted?
I think the internet's going in and out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.